just before we start, it's
time for a special announcement!
Guys, we are 4 weeks away from the big Switch and Zelda launch, and to set a mark, we want to give away a Switch if we can reach that lucky 70,000 subscribers by March 3rd. So to enter, you need to be subscribed to the Commonwealth Realm, which is totally free, and we will reach that big number by the launch of the Switch and Zelda. And with that, we hope you enjoy this episode of Inside Breath of the Wild. They did it! After a number of games with inclusion and exclusion of races, the Zelda team finally found a way to include Hylians, Gorons, Zoras, Gerudos, Koroks, and last but definitely not least, the Sheikah in the same game. All of these and the mysterious, but at the same time friendly bird tribes will be found inside Breath of the Wild. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Inside The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Today we will go deep into the many races present in the game and how these peaceful tribes are connected. In other words, this episode is spoiler-free as long as you have watched the Switch presentation Zelda trailer.
Hylians return! Nah, just kidding. The Hylians have been in every single Zelda game since the very first one, but this time around, they're not exactly at their high point. Since with their kingdom gone, capital turned into a wasteland, and their castle occupied, the Hylians of this era have been forced into a simpler and more modest life in the ruins. Even so, throughout the century following the fall of their beloved kingdom, they have kept their stand and pride. The commercial life is alive, with widespread stables, markets, and merchants such as Beetle traveling across the land to sell their goods. All of these outposts and travelers do their part in aiding mounted explorers and trailblazers bent on holding back and protecting their still free civilization from the great evil and eventually reclaim occupied Hyrule. There is no doubt that the heavily equipped and armed Hylians of this era are fighting a battle for survival, but are they united under one power as during the times of the Kingdom of Hyrule, or are they divided into several different entities?
The reason for this question is that in the gameplay and trailer, we have seen crests that differ from the ones found on the ruins of the Great Bridge of Hylia or Castle Town. Does this mean that this developed town near Hyrule's coast and this rural village that might be Kakariko are not part of the same faction? It could, though the two might belong to different smaller town states. It doesn't have to mean that they are hostile towards each other. Good examples of economically rivaling city or province states rising on the ruins of former empires or kingdoms can be found in both German and Italian history. In other words, who knows? Maybe we might see different types of Hylians with their own identity and culture, who both use the stables and outposts. More important is how these possible independent states might react to the return of Princess Zelda and the idea of unification to one absolutist kingdom of Hyrule under the order of the royal family.
Over to the allies of Link, the champion races, the chosen ones, as based on the footage we have seen, these races used to live in harmony, but did 100 years worsen these ties? Let's have a look. The Goron tribe, a brute but loyal force of power that holds a great pride in their way of life and mining their local delicacy, fucking rocks, found at Eldin/Death Mountain. What a relief it is to see them confirmed in this game, which might mark for more moments such as this one, or this one. Nevertheless, things are different as for the first time we will get to hear the voices of the Goron Patriarch and his elders in the cutscenes that they will appear in. Exactly. As we all know, the Gorons are great warriors, and unsurprisingly, the long-bearded Goron in the story trailer proudly wears the champion scarf of the Order of Champions. Then you have this massive blade in the official artwork.
This signifies some prominence of this character to the main quest in Breath of the Wild, which again might mean that he will be Link's companion in the province, or the equivalent to a sage when it comes to reclaiming the corrupted behemoth chameleon around the summit. One thing that is clear is that he, through his steel chain, proudly displays the crest of the Goron tribe, the Goron Ruby. This alone points that there will be a developed and organized Goron civilization in the game, with likely a Goron city somewhere at Death Mountain, where we will find elders and patriarchs. The Gorons are a loyal tribe and good friends of the Hylians, so it is likely that with their great force, they will be of great help on the way up to the top of Death Mountain. The humanoid fish tribe will most likely be found southeast from Death Mountain at Zora's domain. We know this since one of the scenes in the Switch trailer was undoubtedly set inside the Zora Hall. Here we see Link being thanked by what appears to be a red-skinned Zora warrior. One thing worth noticing is that he wears a chest belt where the Zora sapphire, the symbol of the tribe, is depicted.
Behind them stands a blue-collared Zora, who might be an elder of the tribe or the advisor to the muscular King Zora, who we see partially covered in what likely is his throne. Talk about a positive transformation. Looks like the Zoras maintained the monarchy throughout the 100 years that have passed since the collapse of the Kingdom of Hyrule and its royal family. But who is this red female child Zora? The young Rutella from Twilight Princess? Possibly, since the crown she's wearing with the motif of the Zora sapphire indicates that she is a member of the royal family and likely the heir to the throne. One of the points that might solidify this claim is the trident she possesses according to this concept art. If that wasn't enough, the young Zora wears the champion band, which just like our brother the Goron from the previous section, puts her in the rather obvious category of champions or sage-ish type of role. Furthermore, could the red male Zora be the son of the king, and therefore a prince, or just a commander of some sort? It will be interesting to see what role the possibly militarized Zoras will serve in the game, and which factions they swear fealty to when the Kingdom of Hyrule is out of business. But please, please no water temples, okay?
Okay, so we got the Gorons, Zoras, and Koroks. Wait. How can the Clorox be present in Breath of the Wild where there are Zoras and not Rito? Simple. The Kokiri or Koroks are not subdued to any form of evolution. As spirits of the forest, they take on the form that fits them most depending on the situation and surrounding threats. Since Hyrule in Breath of the Wild is infested by monsters of various kinds, it actually makes sense that we have Koroks even if this game takes place in the unified, child, or even downfall timelines. We know that the hiding Koroks serve a purpose in the game through their seeds, but the question remains if the Great Deku Tree has something to do with it. The same goes about the transformation from Kokiri to Koroks in the Downfall or Child timelines, or their origins prior to the arrival of the Hero of Time to Kokiri Forest. We can't wait to learn more about the Great Deku Tree's role and purpose as the Guardian of the Master Sword and deity of the Koroks. But is it entirely true that there are no Ritos in the game? Yes, since we from Wind Waker know that the Zoras evolved into the Rito, and since the Zoras are from our point of view in a better state than Hylians, then we doubt that these birds have anything to do with these. However, they might be the descendants of the proud Loftwings from the era of the sky. Good to know that they are friendly, otherwise they could have posed as a formidable foe. But seeing this bird with the champion scarf, likely a sage, it is rather obvious that this high-altitude tribe has sincere intentions. Just ask Cass, an accordion-playing parrot that shares advice to Link on his path to one of the jungle shrines.
It will be interesting to see what kind of civilization the birds can offer. Will they have towns or villages of their own, or mostly take cover in the mighty mechanical bird flying high up in the northwestern mountain range? Hopefully, as a new inclusion to the game, they will serve a key part in salvaging Hyrule from Calamity Ganon's evil. Ah, the Gerudo, the most hated and persecuted tribe of all of Hyrule. But why? Because of the misdeeds of the only male born of their tribe? With Calamity Ganon taking over the position of Ganondorf, it is time to offer some retribution to the Gerudo tribe for their past portrayals and the prejudice seen towards them from the Hylians in Ocarina of Time. Gladly, it appears that the tribe is getting some well-deserved recognition in Breath of the Wild, with a well-developed civilization and their own walled town/stronghold with the Gerudo emblem deep in the desert. There they live thanks to an intelligent spring water solution, which supplies the homes with clean water. For the first time in the series, we will enter the streets of the highly Middle Eastern-inspired tribe, indulge in its rich culture, and perhaps even get a peek inside the palace or shrine found within the confines. But as we all know, Gerudo Desert in the west is vast, and the trail to its oasis, and further on to what appears to be the goddess of the sand/spirit temple, will be long and dangerous. Luckily, it appears that Link will receive help from this Gerudo, which, similarly to the case of the Gorons, Zoras, and birds, might also be a champion or some sort of sage.
This is likely as we saw her in the trailer standing next to Link looking at the deactivated camel in the desert. But what is this? Just look at her eyes, and what colors make green, blue, and yellow. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a Gerudo-Hylian hybrid. Anyways, since the races in Hyrule appear to be in harmony with each other, it is probable that we might see some friendly Gerudo this time who, instead of aiding monsters, are fighting them. Just like in the case of the birds, it will be interesting to see what kind of position the Gerudo tribe will serve in the war against Calamity Ganon. But what about the Sheikah tribe? Will they spend the entire game deep within their shrines, testing Link with their elaborate puzzles and in return offer him holy gifts? Far from it. And this is why we also have placed the Sheikah at the end, as we are moving into possible spoiler territory for the game, so heed this warning before it's too late. Besides, here are the choices for the next episode: Dungeons and Divine Beasts, or Enemies and Minions. Vote by commenting below.
Last but definitely not least, we have the Sheikah tribe. And to say it slightly, based on the information we currently have, their reckless actions contributed to the corruption of their highly sophisticated technology, guardians, and divine beasts. The subsequent banishment of the tribe by the Hylians likely led to a split between the Sheikah. Some of them grieved for their sins and set on to live in the shadows, deep in the shrines, waiting to aid Link, the hero/champion of Hyrule, when he eventually would return. However, the other half did not submit to the Hylians' orders, defected, and most likely, just like this warrior, are not too fond of Hylians or the failed hero/champion. This explanation fits with the graphic depiction seen in the official Breath of the Wild tapestry found in the US Collector's and Master's editions. Here, we clearly see what must be Hylians expelling or chasing a tribe that is fleeing from the scene. Nonetheless, the Sheikah are not heading into any common direction, as the line seen below their fit splits into two, where some are heading below into the direction of the statue of goddess Hylia. This line likely represents the Sheikah who devoted the rest of their lives to the goddess and set to wait for the return of the hero.
While others simply didn't and were most likely chased out of Hyrule or went into conspiracy. And this is where things get complicated, since why doesn't the Sheikah have a champion in their race, and why is this village riddled with their symbols? It seems that we will encounter two kinds of Sheikah along our quest to rid their divine beasts of corruption and take down Calamity Ganon. The first is the divine helpful elderly Sheikah found in the underground shrines, and possibly in this village, or Kakariko village, if the Sheikah still inhabit the settlement. One thing is certain, this place once belonged to the Sheikah, and this building confirms it. While the other kinds of Sheikah that we will face are defector warriors, who've had their pride wounded by Hylians. These will likely ambush Link when confronted, but are they truly evil? We don't think so, and rather, we could see another case like with Ocarina's Gerudos, where we, through our actions, win the respect of these defectors, and they ultimately end up upgrading our Sheikah slate or helping us to rid the divine beasts in the four corners of the land off of Calamity Ganon's corruption. We know that Breath of the Wild will be full of surprises, so such a turn in at least one of the tribes should be expected across the main quest of the game. If so, then the Sheikah might stand for the most spectacular climax in any Zelda game. And speaking of shrines and divine beasts and whom these races will fight against, we will give you the following choice for the next episode of Inside Breath of the Wild: Shrines and Divine Beasts and Dungeons, or Enemies and Minions. Thank you so much for watching.
And of course, as promised, we need to give a great shout out to all the donators who have made the remake of the complete Legend of Zelda timeline with Breath of the Wild possible. As a result, we want to give a great thanks to Warrior Xoni, Jay Prustko, Tefferson, Jaylee11, Digital Atom 6, Epic MC Pixels, Joel Hero, Lewis MP77, Pelberg, Dapper Deputy, Attic Mike, K-Marks 1994, Attacking Viking, Mr. Crow, Steamed Walnut, Digital Atom 6, Cyanic, Joel Hero, Dices, Mike, Dapper Deputy, and Comical Skate. Thank you so much for making the Legend of Zelda Timeline Remaster possible. You will of course also get your name in the credits of that video. So until then, this was the Commonwealth Realm, and I will see you girls and guys later.